Hello everyone. I am Dreaming Stories and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep. So before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching? Now get comfortable and relax. It was 12:37 a.m. when the phone rang. Not buzzed, not chirped with some friendly notification, rang. Loud, old school, vibrating against my nightstand like it was trying to crawl into my bones. I jolted awake, sheets twisted around my legs, heart already hammering. I don't know why it scared me so much. Maybe it was the hour, maybe it was the silence that had been smothering my apartment just seconds before. You don't realize how dead the night is until something splits it open. The screen glared in the dark, lighting up my ceiling with a sickly blue glow. Unknown caller. Not spam. Not a name I knew. Just that. My throat felt tight as I reached for it. The ringtone pulsed, sharp and repetitive, like something alive. I hesitated long enough that it almost stopped, almost, but instinct won over and my thumb slid across the screen. Hello. Static, faint at first, like a whisper pressed against a speaker. I swallowed hard, sitting up, the cool air crawling across my skin. Then. Don't go near the window. My breath froze halfway out. The voice was mine. Not just similar, not a recording, not a coincidence. It was my voice, with that slight rasp at the end of words I'd always hated hearing on playback. The only difference was the tone, desperate, ragged, like it had been dragged through hours of screaming. What? I managed, my voice cracking in the silence. Don't look outside. Don't. The voice fractured into static for half a second, then came back, hissing fast, urgent. No matter what you hear. No matter what, don't let it in. Don't. The call ended. Just like that. A click and dead air. I stared at the screen like maybe it would explain itself. Call duration, 007. The unknown number flickered there, taunting me, before fading into the dark. I sat there for what felt like minutes, phone clutched in my hand, pulse throbbing in my ears. It didn't make sense. None of it did. And then, tap. 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 The sound came from the left. From the window. I turned my head slowly, every nerve screaming at me not to. The blinds were drawn, thin. Strips of cheap vinyl, but they shivered with each tap like someone, or something, was right there on the other side. I told myself not to move. Not to breathe. But then the tapping stopped. And the silence was worse. My phone lit up again. Unknown caller. I answered without thinking, dragging the screen to my ear, whispering so softly I barely heard myself. Who is this? The voice slammed into me, no longer hushed, screaming so loud I yanked the phone away. It's not me. And behind the blinds, something started to laugh. I dropped the phone. It hit the hardwood with a sharp crack, the screen splintering into a spiderweb of white lines, but the voice kept shrieking through the shattered glass, don't look. Don't, and then silence again. The laugh outside had stopped too. The sudden stillness was so loud it made my skull ache. My breath came out in shaky bursts, fogging in the cold air that shouldn't have been there. My apartment was sealed, every window locked, heat set to 72. Yet the air had weight now, a damp chill pressing down like an invisible tide. My body moved before my brain caught up, sliding off the bed and crouching low, as if ducking made me invisible. The only light was the fractured glow from my phone, pulsing faintly like a dying heartbeat. I crawled toward it. The screen flickered, cutting in and out, and for a moment, it wasn't the home screen anymore. It was me, my own face, staring up through broken pixels. Except it wasn't right. The reflection, or whatever it was, looked hollow. My eyes were pits. My mouth hung open. Like something had scooped the sound right out of me. And then it smiled. The image rippled, fractured, and the screen went black. My stomach twisted, while stinging my throat. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. But the air said otherwise. The silence said otherwise. And then the tapping started again, faster now, urgent, a staccato rhythm that didn't sound like fingers. It sounded like claws. I pressed my hands over my ears, curling tighter, whispering, "This isn't happening, this isn't happening," but then something joined the tapping. A voice. Not the call, not my voice. Something else. Let me in. It was soft. Childlike. So close it could have been in the room. I froze. My nails dug into my scalp as I strained to listen. Please. I'm cold. Every instinct screamed at me to look. Just one peek through the blinds. Just to prove it was nothing. But my hand, the stupid, treacherous thing, moved on its own, reaching for the string like I'd been programmed to do it. My fingers brushed the plastic cord, and my phone buzzed again. I snatched it up so fast I almost threw it. Unknown caller. My thumb slammed the screen. Hello. Don't touch the blinds, my own voice roared back, hoarse and shredded, like it had been dragged across fire. If you see it, it sees you. Do you understand? My breath hitched. What is happening? Who the hell, you know who I am, the voice cut me off, sharp and broken, like glass grinding against metal. You're me. You're the one who starts this. You let it in, and everything ends. No time. Do exactly what I say, or we both die. The tapping became pounding now, the blinds rattling as if fists, or worse, were slamming against the glass. A hairline crack zipped across the pane with a sound like a bone snapping. Listen to me, my voice snarled from the phone. Get out of the apartment. Now. I can't even move. Something hit the glass hard enough to bow it inward. I screamed and bolted, heart ricocheting inside my chest, grabbing nothing but my phone as I lunged for the door. Behind me, the window burst. A wet, sucking sound filled the room, like the night itself was crawling in. And then I heard it, clear, for the first time. The thing's voice. Found you. I didn't look back. God help me, every fiber of me wanted to, but that voice on the phone had burned into my skull like a brand. If you see it, it sees you. The sound behind me wasn't footsteps. It was worse. A slick dragging, like something was pulling itself across the hardwood on too many limbs, each movement punctuated by a wet snap. My apartment door loomed ahead, black against black. My trembling hands fumbled for the deadbolt. It wouldn't turn. My breath came in ragged gasps as I jerked at it, cursed, slammed my shoulder against the frame. Come on, something hissed behind me. Low. Hungry. Like a whisper curling along the floor. The bolt gave. The door yawned open and I stumbled into the hall, bare feet slapping cold linoleum. The light in the hallway was dim, yellow, flickering like a dying candle. I ran. I didn't stop to close the door. Didn't stop to breathe. My legs carried me down the corridor, past rows of doors that all looked the same, closed, silent, like the whole building was holding its breath. My phone was still in my hand, and the voice, my voice, exploded through the speaker again, stairs. Now. I veered right so hard my shoulder smashed into the peeling wall. The stairwell door groaned. Open and I plunged down, skipping steps, gripping the rusted railing until it burned my palms. Keep moving, my voice barked. I'm trying. I gasped, nearly tripping as my foot slipped on something slick. Blood? Water? I didn't look. Don't stop, don't speak, don't, the phone cut off mid-sentence. Just dead air. And in that silence, I heard it again. Not behind me this time. Below me. Something was waiting at the bottom of the stairs. I froze, chest heaving, ears straining in the suffocating dark. The thing didn't move. Didn't make a sound. But I felt it, heavy and wrong, like the air had been carved out around it. Then a new sound, the whisper of something long and sharp grazing metal. I bolted upward instead, taking the stairs 2, 3 at a time, lungs tearing, legs screaming. Behind me, the drag started again. Upward. Following. The higher I climbed, the darker it got. Each landing swallowed by shadow, each light fixture dimmer than the last until they weren't lights at all, just faint glimmers like dying stars. The phone buzzed violently in my hand. I answered mid-stride, my breath ragged. What? Roof, my voice rasped, like it was speaking through a throat full of broken glass. You have to get to the roof, there's no other way. Who are you? I told you. I'm you, but not for long. It's already inside. The line dissolved into static. Then came the sound that froze me worse than anything yet. It was laughter. But this time it wasn't outside. It was on the call. Not me, the voice crooned, soft and sweet and bubbling with delight. Not anymore. The line went dead. And from the stairwell below, something screeched, a sound so jagged it ripped through my skull like a serrated blade. I ran harder. Through the dark, toward a door with a cracked exit sign bleeding red light like a warning. I slammed it open and staggered onto the rooftop, lungs clawing for air, the cold night slicing my skin raw. The city stretched out below, silent, endless. Too silent. Not a single car, not a single light in the windows. Just stillness. Like the world had stopped breathing. And then I saw it. Across the roof. It was standing there. And it was me. It was like staring into a broken mirror that had learned to hate me. Same height. Same build. Same messy hair matted to my forehead with sweat. But the skin. God, the skin wasn't right. It was gray, like candle wax smeared across bone, sagging in places like it didn't know where to stick. And the eyes. No. They weren't eyes. They were pits. Hollow, swallowing light, framed by cracks that spread like dry earth. It smiled when it saw me. Finally, it whispered. The voice rolled across the rooftop like smoke, crawling under my skin, digging into the softest parts of me. My legs locked. Every instinct screamed to run, but my body didn't listen. Couldn't. I was frozen, staring at myself, at the thing wearing me like a costume stitched wrong. You're not, my voice broke apart. Not what? It said, tilting its head in that wrong, broken way, neck bending too far, like bones were optional. Not you. Its mouth stretched wider, tearing slightly at the corners as something black and wet dripped down its chin. Oh, but I am, it purred, voice curling sweet and venomous. I'm every piece you'd rather throw away. Every thought you buried, every fear you swallowed. I'm what waits in the dark when you look the other way. It started walking toward me. No footsteps. Just a sound like paper tearing, flesh dragging against stone. The sky above rippled, bleeding red along the horizon, and the air grew thick, tasting of iron and rot. Don't come near me, I choked out, taking a step back. It laughed. That sound again, low, gurgling, wrong. Why? Afraid you won't like what you see? It tilted its head further, almost upside down now, that grin splitting impossibly wide. Or afraid, you will. Something deep in me broke, and I ran. I didn't think, didn't look back, just sprinted across the rooftop, lungs shredding, the cold night slicing my throat raw. The door to the next stairwell loomed ahead, glowing faintly like salvation. I hit it hard, yanking at the handle, locked. No, no, and no, behind me, the thing giggled, a wet, childlike sound that made bile surge in my throat. I pounded the door, screaming, fists raw and useless. Help! Somebody, shoo! It hissed, close now, so close I felt its breath, a cold, sucking void at the back of my neck. You'll wake the dead. I spun and lashed out, fist connecting with something soft and wet. It laughed louder, teeth flashing in the red-tinged dark, rose and rose where there should be one. Feisty, it crooned. I like that. It lunged. I dropped low on instinct, its hands, no, claws, raking sparks off the metal door as it sailed past me. I ran the other way, across the roof's edge, and my stomach bottomed out when I saw there was no other door. Just a drop. Stories high. The street below yawning black and endless. I turned, chest heaving, and the thing was already standing again. Slowly this time, savoring the moment like a predator that had already decided how I'd taste. Nowhere left to go, it whispered. Nowhere but down. The phone buzzed in my pocket. I yanked it out, not even questioning, just praying for my voice, any voice that wasn't this. I answered. A whisper slid through, shredded and faint, but it was mine, raw and desperate. Jump. What? Jump now. The thing laughed, throwing its arms wide like a showman basking in applause. Yes, it sang, voice syrupy and wrong. Jump. Come closer. Come home. The rooftop tilted under my feet, or maybe the world did, and the wind screamed through my ears as I stumbled back toward the edge, toes curling over empty space. Do it, my voice roared through the phone, breaking with static. Jump or it takes you, forever. The thing lunged. I jumped. And the city swallowed me whole. The wind tore the scream from my throat before it could even leave my mouth. The night became a tunnel of black and blood-red streaks, the ground rushing up so fast it felt like the world was folding in on itself. My stomach flipped inside out, my brain howled for a miracle, anything but the snap waiting below. Then the air changed. The fall slowed, not stopped, not soft, but dragged. Like invisible hooks caught in my skin, pulling, tearing, holding me in suspension. My body jerked midair as if strings had yanked me from the drop. And then came the sound. Whispers. Thousands of them, sliding over each other like snakes in a pit, threading into my ears, curling behind my eyes. We see you. We see you. We see you. The hooks, whatever they were, pulled harder, twisting me in the air until I was staring upward. The thing was leaning over the edge, head dangling upside down like a broken doll, that smile still stretching, splitting wider than any face should allow. Black threads hung from its teeth like wet spider silk, swaying in the wind. Thought you could leave? It hissed. Its voice didn't need distance, it pierced straight into me, cold as marrow. You can't leave yourself behind. The whispers swelled, pressing inside my skull, louder and louder until they were all I was. All there was. Stay, 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 I thrashed, kicking into nothing, screaming until my throat tore raw. My fingers clawed at the air, and that's when I felt it, the phone. Still in my hand. Still buzzing, even as I hung in this impossible gravity. I slammed it to my ear, choking, spitting, praying, help me. And then, my voice. Fierce. Frantic. Listen. It doesn't have you yet. I can't. Yes you can. You have 30 seconds before it drags you back. Back where? You don't want to know, my voice snapped. A beat of static, then, when I say, close your eyes and let go. I squeezed the phone so hard the glass bit into my skin, blood slicking the edges. What if I hit the ground? If you don't, you'll wish you had. Above me, the thing was moving now, sliding down the side of the building, head first, limbs bending wrong as its nails bit into the concrete like knives through butter. It moved without sound. Without effort. A spider wearing my skin. 10 seconds, my voice barked through the static. Close them. Now. The whispers clawed at me, a chorus of promises and hunger. Stay. Stay. Let us in. Let us wear you. I squeezed my eyes shut so hard stars burst behind them. And let go. The hooks ripped free. Agony flared like molten wire under my skin as I plummeted, weightless, senseless, until, impact. White exploded across my vision, then black, then nothing. When I woke, I was lying on cold asphalt, staring at a sky that wasn't mine. It was cracked. Hairline fractures ran across the heavens like shattered glass, glowing faintly with a pale, pulsing light behind them. The buildings around me bent inward, wrong angles twisting like melted plastic, windows gaping like empty eye sockets. And the street, God. The street moved. The concrete rippled under me like a living thing, veins of black tar throbbing with each pulse of that awful light. Shadows slid beneath the surface, shapes too fast, too fluid to name. My phone buzzed in my hand. Somehow, it was still whole. Still glowing. I lifted it to my ear without speaking. Don't panic, my voice rasped. If you panic, it finds you faster. My lips trembled. Where am I? A pause. Then, soft as a knife sliding into flesh, home. The word sank into me like poison. Home. No. No, this wasn't home. My apartment was home. My city. Not this. I pushed myself up, every joint screaming like rusted hinges. The asphalt beneath my hands was warm, slick. When I pulled away, strands of black clung to my skin, stretching like tar before snapping back. It pulsed once, like it was alive, like it knew me. I stumbled backward and nearly fell again when the ground breathed. Not a figure of speech. It literally rose and fell in slow, shuddering waves, like something huge was sleeping beneath it. With each inhale, the cracks in the sky glowed brighter. With each exhale, a low hum rolled through the air, so deep it rattled my bones. And then came the sound. Footsteps. Soft. Bare. Slapping wet against the living street. I turned so fast my neck popped, and there it was. The thing. Standing at the far end of the warped street, head tilted, that grin stretched wide enough to tear. Except now it wasn't hollow-eyed. Not anymore. It had my eyes. Perfect copies. Brown, flecked with gold, blinking slowly, almost tenderly, like it was savoring something. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. My phone buzzed again in my shaking hand, and I pressed it to my ear because what else could I do? Listen to me, my voice snapped, older, harsher, breaking with static. You have maybe 5 minutes before it takes you completely. You need to move. I don't even know where I am, I hissed, my whisper splintering under the weight of terror. You're in between, it said flatly. The slip. The space that eats everything that looks too long. What does that even, no time. Find the door. What door? The one that doesn't fit. It'll look wrong. Too small. Too old. You'll know when you see it. The line crackled like fire, and for a moment I thought it was gone, but then my voice came back, almost breaking. And don't let it touch you. Click. Dead air. I lowered the phone, pulse ricocheting through my skull, and glanced down the street again. The thing was closer. No sound this time. It didn't walk, it slid, feet dragging in lazy arcs, head bobbing like it was drunk on the thrill of this hunt. Its grin split wider, Two wide, teeth crowding, overlapping, rows and rows, each one slick and gleaming. It lifted its hand and beckoned. I ran. Didn't think. Didn't look back. Just tore down the rippling street, lungs burning, shoes sticking to the tar-like ground with every stride. The city twisted around me, buildings bending, leaning in like eavesdroppers, their windows flashing with shapes that vanished when I tried to focus. The whispers started again, slithering through the cracks in the air, curling around my brain. Stay. 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 I clamped my hands over my ears, screaming, "Shut up," but they weren't in my ears, they were inside, writhing under my skin, threading through my veins. And then I saw it. The door. Wedged between two buildings that looked like melted wax, a single wooden door sat in a brick frame, as if it had been stolen from another world. Old, splintered, peeling green paint. Too small, too human in a place like this. I bolted for it, every nerve howling, the tar beneath me clinging harder, trying to hold me back. My muscles burned as I ripped forward, fingers stretching for the brass knob, when something clamped around my ankle. Cold. Hard. Sharp enough to slice skin to the bone. I screamed and kicked, twisting, and saw it, its arms stretching across half the street like a length of gray rope, skin splitting in jagged seams as black ichor gushed out in fat drops. Its fingers dug in deeper, peeling me toward it inch by inch. "Don't fight," it crooned, voice a lullaby dipped in venom. "You'll like it here." I thrashed harder, heels smashing against its grip, my hands clawing at the street for purchase that wasn't there. The tar squirmed under me like it was laughing. The door was right there. Inches away. I let out a raw, animal scream and swung the phone in my fist, smashing it down on its fingers. The glass shattered, sparks spitting, and for one blessed second, its grip faltered. I lunged, seized the knob, and yanked the door open. Light spilled out. Blinding. Pure. Burning like ice on my skin. The thing shrieked behind me, an inhuman sound, jagged and endless, and I threw myself through the door as it howled, "You're mine." The world exploded in white. And then, silence. When I woke up, I was back in my bed. Phone on the nightstand. Blinds drawn. The faint hum of the city outside. For a moment, I thought it had all been a dream. A nightmare spun from too much caffeine and too little sleep. Until my phone buzzed. Unknown caller. I answered without breathing. And my voice whispered, calm this time, almost tender, "Round 2. The line went dead. Silence swallowed the room, thick and heavy, like the air itself was waiting for something. My phone screen dimmed, and for a few heartbeats, nothing moved, nothing except my pulse hammering through my skull. Then I saw it. A smear. On the inside of my bedroom door. Black, glossy, streaked downward like something had dragged wet fingers across the paint. I stared until my vision blurred, willing it to not be real, but the smell hit me next. Copper and rot, clinging to the back of my throat, making bile surge up like acid. I stumbled out of bed, heart stuttering, grabbing the first thing I could, a lamp. It felt pathetic in my hands, a plastic shield against something that had already bent the laws of reality, but it was all I had. The room was wrong. Not visibly, at least, not at first, but wrong in that way you feel before you understand. Corners sharper than they should be, shadows pooling too deep, like they had weight. My posters hung crooked, though I hadn't touched them in weeks. And then the hum started. Low. Faint. Like an engine buried under miles of earth, but rising, louder, vibrating through the floor, through my bones, until the lamp rattled in my grip. I clutched the phone. My thumb hovered over the screen, desperate for another call, another voice, even if it was mine. Nothing. Just the hum. And then, scratching. From the window. Slow at first, like fingernails teasing glass. Then harder. Longer. Until it sounded like claws carving their way inside. Every muscle in me locked. I thought about the voice, the warning, don't look outside. No matter what you hear. I wasn't going to look. God help me, I wasn't. But then it spoke. Soft. Sweet. Like a mother at a cradle. Let me in. My throat closed. Please. The voice cracked, almost breaking into a sob. It's so cold out here. Tears burned my eyes before I realized I was crying. Something about that voice, broken, pleading, tugged at some primal thread in me. Then it changed. The sweetness melted away like flesh sliding off bone. The sob turned into a gurgle. And then, laughter. Not human. Not even close. I dropped the lamp. It clattered loud enough to wake the dead, and maybe it did, because the scratching exploded into pounding, fists, or what sounded like fists, slamming into the glass with bone-snapping force. Cracks spiderwebbed across the pane. And my phone buzzed. I snatched it up like a lifeline. Hello. Bathroom, my voice barked, harsh and feral, like it had been running for days. Now. Don't argue. Move. I bolted. The pounding behind me roared into an avalanche of sound, glass shattering like gunfire as cold air knifed across my back. Something howled, long, guttural, too deep for a throat that small. I slammed the bathroom door shut and locked it, collapsing against the wood, chest heaving. The room was dark, but I didn't dare turn on the light. Something told me the dark was safer now. Okay, I whispered, gripping the phone like it was oxygen. Okay. I'm in. What now? A pause. Static hissing like breath. Then, you have 2 minutes. For what? For it to find the door. A beat of silence, then my voice, sharper now, almost savage. When it does, don't let it speak. No matter what it says. If you answer, if you even breathe too loud, it'll know your name. And then, the line cracked. Something slammed against the apartment wall outside, so hard the tiles beneath me quaked. And then it'll wear you, my voice finished, low and tight. Forever. The line went dead again. The hum surged, rattling the pipes like bones in a grinder. Plaster dust rained from the ceiling as something massive dragged itself down the hall, slow and deliberate, humming to itself now, a sick, wet mimicry of a lullaby. Then came the knock. Gentle. 3 taps, light as a lover's touch, against the bathroom door. And a voice. Mine. Open up. Every hair on my body stood on end. My breath stopped cold in my lungs. The voice on the other side of the door wasn't just mine, it was perfect. The cadence, the rasp, the tiny hitch I hated when I was nervous. Hearing it out there felt like being hollowed out and filled with ice. Hey. It murmured, almost tender. It's okay now. You can open the door. My nails dug into my palms so hard they broke skin. Blood dripped warm down my wrists, but I didn't dare move. Didn't dare breathe too loud. Another knock. Harder this time. Come on. The voice smiled through the wood. I could hear it. How does a voice smile? But it did. You're safe now. It's gone. I made sure. A sharp pang shot through my chest, hope, stupid and traitorous. What if it was telling the truth? What if my other self, the one on the phone, had stopped it? What if this was really over? No. No, no, no. I gritted my teeth so hard I tasted blood. The warning echoed through me like scripture, don't let it speak. Don't answer. The knob rattled. Slow at first, then harder. Metal squealed in its socket as the door trembled under something powerful on the other side. "Please," it whispered now, soft as a prayer. "Please, I'm scared." The voice cracked just enough to sound real. God, it sounded real. I pressed my hands over my ears, squeezing until the world blurred, but its words slid under anyway, curling into me like smoke. "You left me out here. You don't want to leave me alone, do you?" The humming started again, low and slick, crawling under the door like oil. The floor vibrated. Something scraped against the tile, a nail, maybe. Or a tooth. My phone buzzed in my bloody grip. I fumbled it to my ear without even looking. "Don't listen," my voice snapped, sharp as a blade. "It's trying to break you. 10 more seconds. Hold on." "I can't." "Yes, you can. If you answer it, you're done. It takes your name, and then it takes your face, and then it wears your life until there's nothing left but screaming." The thing on the other side giggled. High, sweet, like a child splashing in a puddle. The knob stopped rattling. Then came the whisper. Closer. Right at the crack of the door. "I already have your face." My stomach turned to stone. I looked down, and froze. The water pooled at my feet wasn't from the sink. It was thick. Black. Pulsing like a living vein, creeping toward me from the base of the door. Inside it, flickers of teeth. My voice on the phone roared through static, "Get in the tub. Now." I lunged for the bathtub, slipping on the slick black film spreading across the floor. My knees smashed the tile, pain flaring white, but I scrambled up and over the porcelain edge, slamming the curtain shut like it mattered. The door shuddered. Wood splintered. "Hold your breath," the voice hissed. "When it comes through, drown the sound." What? Under the water. Now. The last thing I saw before I slid beneath the cold water was the doorknob tearing free, the lock exploding in a spray of shards, and the thing crawling through on all fours. Upside down. Grinning. Its eyes were mine. The curtain tore like paper. I sank under the water just as its hand, a pale, slick parody of my own, slammed against the tub's rim. Black veins pulsed beneath its skin, writhing like worms under glass. The water was ice. So cold it clawed at my lungs, begging me to breathe, to give in, but I clenched my jaw until my teeth screamed and sank deeper, curling tight at the bottom. Through the rippling surface, the world above warped and bent. Shadows flailed against the dim light, long and jagged, like bones snapping in reverse. The thing moved slow, deliberate, savoring the game. And then its face dipped into view. Upside down. Grinning that endless grin. The water warped it worse, stretching its mouth until it spanned ear to ear, teeth gleaming. Like glass shards, black ichor threading between them in strings that pulsed like veins. It tilted its head, my head, watching me with those eyes. My eyes. Perfect. Unblinking. Something cold brushed my ankle. I jerked, nearly sucking water into my lungs, but it was too late, the tar from the floor had followed me in. Tendrils of black curled up my legs, silky and soft, like fingers stroking before the grip. I kicked hard, thrashing, bubbles exploding around me, but the tendrils held fast, winding higher, tighter, hungry. My chest burned, vision dimming at the edges. And then, I heard it. Through the water, muffled but clear, "Breathe." Not a command. A promise. The thing's hand broke the surface above me, fingers splayed, nails like splintered glass. It reached down slow, so slow, almost tender, like it was going to cut my face and kiss me sweet before peeling me open. My phone buzzed in my death grip. Underwater. Still working, impossibly. The glow lit the tub in sickly pulses, casting its shadow huge and monstrous across the curtain tatters. I yanked it to my ear and pressed hard, praying to whatever god hadn't abandoned me. Static screamed, shredding my skull, then my voice cut through, ragged, savage, burning with urgency. Now. My lungs were knives. I wanted to breathe so bad it hurt worse than dying. What? I choked, bubbles streaming from my lips. Do it. Say the word. The tendrils surged up my chest, across my throat, stroking my jaw like a lover about to claim me. What word? Static crackled, then one word sliced through like a blade: forget. The black flooded over my mouth. The last of my air slipped free in a silver rush. I screamed the word into the drowning dark, soundless, desperate: forget. And the world shattered. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in my kitchen. Morning light spilled through the window. Birds chirped like nothing had ever been wrong. The hum of the fridge thrummed low and steady. I was dry. Clean. Alive. My heart slammed so hard it hurt. My hands shook as I touched my face, my arms, my chest, everything where it should be. My phone sat on the counter, screen dark, harmless. And for one impossible second, I believed. Believed I'd made it out. That it was over. Until I saw the note. Folded once, neat, sitting on the counter like it had always been there. My name scrawled on the front. I opened it with fingers that didn't feel like mine. For words, written in black ink that glistened wet, like it had just bled onto the page: don't look in mirrors. The fridge hummed louder. And behind me, the glass on the oven door rippled, like something inside was smiling. The hum deepened into a low, throbbing pulse. I stared at the note until the letters blurred, the ink seeming to crawl, squirming into shapes that didn't belong to any language I knew. Don't look in mirrors. My eyes drifted, slowly, like I was afraid of what waited, to the oven door. The glass didn't just ripple. It breathed. Each swell pressed outward as if something inside wanted out, a shape hunched and wrong, its outline shifting like oil on water. I took a step back, my heartbeat sinking with the hum in the walls. The kitchen stretched in that moment, longer, taller, like the angles had slipped. The light through the window dimmed without the sun moving, shadows gathering in corners that shouldn't have existed. The glass bulged. Just a fraction of an inch, but enough for me to see it, a grin, pale and toothy, pressed from the inside like a mask against a veil. My phone buzzed. I snatched it like a lifeline, answering before the screen lit up. Listen, my voice said, calm but hard, like a blade dragged across stone. You don't have much time. I don't understand, I whispered, throat tight. I did what you said. I said the word, that bought you a night, it cut me off, flat and cold. Not freedom. My knees buckled. I gripped the counter to keep from collapsing. What does that mean? It's awake now, my voice said. You cracked the glass when you looked. When you listened. When you believed. The glass on the oven pulsed harder, a wet, sucking sound behind it. My reflection shimmered on its warped surface, stretched, melting, eyes too far apart. Get rid of the mirrors, the voice hissed. All of them. Every reflective surface. Before it climbs through. Something tapped from inside the oven. Slow. Measured. Like it was knocking to be let out. My breath hitched. And if I don't? Silence. Then, soft, almost tender, then it wears you. The line clicked dead. I staggered to the sink, yanking the faucet on full blast. My reflection bent in the water like broken glass, grinning back at me with teeth too sharp, too many. I smashed the oven door with a chair. The glass shattered in a rain of glittering shards, skittering across the tile like tiny blades. For a moment, I felt a rush of relief, until the shards started moving. Slowly. Purposefully. Crawling toward each other. pulling into a shape. A face. My phone vibrated again, buzzing across the counter. I lunged for it, hands slick with sweat, and answered mid-motion, "What do I do?" My voice on the line came back, shaking now, raw with panic I'd never heard before. "You run." "What?" "Now." The shards screeched as they fused, the grin stretching across the floor in jagged lines, black ichor bubbling between the cracks. The hum in the walls rose to a roar, pipes groaning like something alive was crawling through them. And then, from the pile of glass, a hand erupted, white, slick, fingers too long, curling against the tiles like a spider's legs. I bolted. Out of the kitchen, through the living room, every mirror I passed shivering like liquid as faces pressed against the surface from the wrong side, my faces, all grinning, all whispering the same word in perfect unison, "Stay." The front door loomed ahead. I hit it so hard my shoulder cracked, tore it open, and stopped cold. The hallway wasn't my hallway anymore. It stretched like a throat, pulsing with meat-colored walls slick with something wet, lights dangling like teeth. Shadows crawled along the floor, and deep inside that gaping corridor, I saw them, hundreds of me, standing silent, heads tilted, smiles carved too wide. And at the very end, barely visible in the dark, something bigger. Something waiting. The door slammed shut behind me on its own. And then the lights went out. Darkness swallowed me whole. Not just the absence of light, this dark was thick, alive, pressing against my skin like wet velvet. I could feel it breathing, taste its rot on my tongue. The hum from before returned, deeper now, pulsing through the walls, through me. Each vibration felt like a hand sliding inside my ribs, curling around my heart, squeezing in time with the beat. I fumbled for my phone, the only weapon I had left. Its glow cut through the dark in a trembling circle, and froze on the floor. Footprints. Dozens of them. Bare, slick, black-stained. Leading away from where I stood. Leading deeper into the meat-colored corridor. And then, behind me, a whisper. Soft. Playful. Tag. I spun, light flaring across the warped walls, and saw nothing. Nothing except the door. Or what had been the door. It was gone now. In its place, the wall pulsed, fleshy seams knitting where the frame had been, like the building was digesting me alive. My phone buzzed in my hand. I answered without breathing. "Run," my voice rasped, so low I barely heard it over the hum. I can't, there's nowhere, don't stop. Don't let them close in. If they touch you, you're done." The call crackled, and for a moment, I thought it had died, until my voice came back, whispering so soft I almost missed it, "And whatever you do, don't answer if I call again." My stomach dropped. What? But the line clicked dead. And then the sound came. Footsteps. Not one set. Not two. Dozens, wet, slapping, echoing down the endless hall. I turned the light toward the noise, and my blood turned to ice. They were coming. I was coming. Row after row of me, stepping out of the dark, their grins stretching wider with each flicker of my trembling light. Some had no eyes. Some had too many. Some crawled instead of walked, bones bending like wire. And all of them whispered the same word, perfectly in sync, "Stay." I ran. I didn't think, didn't breathe, just tore down that impossible corridor, the walls closing in and pulsing with each heartbeat, shadows lunging at the edges of my vision. My feet splashed through black water that hadn't been there a second ago, its surface writhing with things that felt like fingers when I stepped in. The hall bent, twisted, split into three. I didn't choose, I just dove left, slamming shoulder first into the corner, pain screaming down my arm as I stumbled onward. Behind me, the voices rose, no longer whispers, laughter now, ragged and giddy, overlapping into a chorus that clawed at my skull. Stay, 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 the floor tilted. My legs slid out from under me, sending me crashing hard into something slick. My phone flew from my hand, spinning across the floor and landing screen up. The light illuminated something ahead. A door. Small. Wooden. Its paint peeling in the same sick green as before. I scrambled for it, hands slipping in the tar spreading under me, and as I grabbed the knob, the phone buzzed. Unknown caller. The name glowed against the cracked screen like a wound. I froze. The pounding of feet closed in. Laughter tore through the dark, so loud it rattled my teeth. My own voice screamed in my skull, "Don't answer if I call again." The knob turned under my grip, on its own. Slowly. And from the other side, a voice cooed, low, sweet, curling like smoke through the cracks, "It's safe here. Come home." My breath broke. The phone buzzed harder, skittering across the floor like something alive. The screen flashed once, then went black. The door creaked open, bleeding light so bright it carved shadows like knives across the walls. And something stepped through. Not me. Not exactly. It was taller this time. Limbs too long, skin pale and stretched so tight it looked ready to split. Its grin curved past its ears, splitting its jaw until it looked unhinged. And in its hands, dangling like broken dolls, two bodies. Both of them me. Their faces flayed into perfect smiles. The thing tilted its head, that wet, rattling laugh spilling out, and whispered in a voice that wasn't a voice, a sound that gnawed the marrow from my bones. Round 3. The door slammed shut behind it. And the lights went out again. The darkness this time wasn't just black, it was thick. Heavy. Like tar pouring into my mouth, my ears, filling me up with something that pulsed and whispered without words. My breath hitched in shallow gasps as the weight of it pressed down, flattening me against the trembling floor. Somewhere ahead, the sound of wet footsteps began again, slow, dragging, deliberate. The thing was moving toward me. Closer. Closer. And then, it stopped. Silence thick as meat. Until it whispered. Right by my ear. Smile. My body seized. Every muscle locked as cold fingers, too many fingers, brushed the nape of my neck. Nails traced up my spine, soft at first, then pressing until I felt skin split under their caress. My teeth clenched hard enough to crack. My mind shrieked, "Don't turn around," but the pressure built and built until my skull felt like it would split from the command vibrating in the dark. Smile. 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 And then, light. Blinding, white hot, erupting from somewhere deep inside my pocket. My phone. I lunged for it like a drowning man clawing at air, ripping it free with trembling hands. The glow carved jagged lines into the dark, slicing across something crouched inches from me. And God help me, I saw it. Not fully, just enough. Skin like stretched parchment, tearing in places to reveal black muscle twitching beneath. A grin spiraling up its cheeks, carving halfway to its skull. And eyes, my eyes, but hollowed out and filled with crawling things that glittered like wet glass. It hissed as the light touched it, jerking back on limbs that bent in ways no body should. The shadows writhed and shrieked, slamming against the walls as if the light had burned holes through reality itself. My phone vibrated in my grip. A call. Unknown caller. I didn't hesitate. I answered, pressing it to my ear like prayer. "Listen," my voice roared through static so harsh it flayed my eardrums. "You're out of time." I can't." "Yes, you can. The exit's here. The light will open it. Don't let it go out." The battery icon glared at me, 1%. The shadows surged forward, clawing for the glow, shrieking in 1,000 stolen voices. Faces bloomed in the dark, faces of me, peeling open like flowers of meat, screaming my name in harmony. The thing lunged. I ran. The corridor writhed under my feet, splitting into jagged mouths that snapped inches from my legs. I leapt, stumbled, kept running, the phone's glow flickering weaker, until I saw it. The door. Standing at the end of the hall like a lone sentinel in a storm, its wood glowing faintly in the white light spilling from the phone. I hurled myself at it, slamming my shoulder into the panels as the phone died in my hand. Darkness swallowed everything, except the faint outline of that door. And the sound behind me. Not footsteps this time. Running. On all fours. I shoved the door open, light exploding from the crack like the birth of a star. Heat seared my skin as I dove through, the world bending, twisting, screaming, then silence. When I woke, I was standing in front of my bathroom mirror. Morning sunlight streamed through the window. The hum of traffic floated up from the street. Birds chirped like nothing had happened. My reflection stared back at me, wide-eyed, pale, hair a tangled mess. I laughed, a broken, hollow sound, and pressed a shaking hand to the glass, whispering, "It's over." My reflection smiled. I didn't. Then it raised its hand, slow, deliberate, and wrote one word in the fog blooming across the glass. Run. And behind me, from the dark of the hallway, came the sound of something dragging itself closer. The word bled across the glass like frost forming in reverse, each letter searing into the fog with a hiss. Run. I staggered back so fast I slammed into the bathroom door. My shoulder flared with pain, but I barely felt it. My eyes locked on the mirror as my reflection slowly, so slowly, tilted its head, grinning wide enough to split its jaw. And then it moved. Not the way a reflection moves. It leaned forward while I stayed frozen. Its hands, my hands, pressed against the inside of the glass, nails black and cracked, scraping softly like claws on bone. The sound was wet. I turned and bolted. The hallway yawned ahead, too long, too narrow, lined with shadows that pulsed like open mouths. The hum returned, deeper now, throbbing through the walls, through my chest, sinking with my heartbeat like it was learning me. Something laughed behind me. Not a voice, hundreds of voices, layered like a choir of rot, all wearing my tone. The sound chased me down the hall, slithering through the cracks in the plaster, curling like fingers into my ears. Stay. The floor flexed under my feet, bulging upward in soft waves, and for a heartbeat I thought I was running across muscle. Black seams split the carpet, slick and pulsing, and something underneath pressed against it, like a face trying to break through. My phone burned in my hand, searing hot, screen cracked but glowing. I didn't question. I answered before it even rang. My voice tore through the speaker, shredded and raw. Listen to me. It's too late to run. What? My voice cracked in a scream as the walls behind me ruptured like wet paper, arms spilling through, pale and too long, grasping in silent frenzy. Don't go out. It's out there now. What's out there? Static exploded so loud it made me stumble. Then, soft. Almost a whisper. Everything you left behind. I didn't understand. I didn't want to. I just ran harder, lungs shredding, throat raw with screams that didn't sound like mine anymore. The front door appeared ahead, shimmering in the pulsing dark like a promise. A way out. A way home. I hit it full force. It didn't budge. Wood splintered under my fists as I slammed them into the panels, screaming, sobbing, begging, but the door was melting now, softening like wax, bleeding black. The voices rose behind me, giddy, wild, overlapping in perfect mimicry of my own. Stay. 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 The mirror in the hallway shattered without warning, shards exploding across the floor in a spray of teeth-like glitter. And from each piece, faces bloomed, my faces, laughing, screaming, mouths splitting wider, wider, until they tore themselves open into something that wasn't a mouth at all. I dropped to my knees, clutching the phone like it was holy, and screamed into the static, "What do I do?" And for the first time, the voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded hollow. Mocking. "Nothing," it purred. "You already did." The line died. The hum surged until it was all there was, vibrating through my bones, splitting into 1,000 jagged whispers that weren't outside anymore, they were inside. Under my skin. Crawling through my veins like black fire, reshaping me from the marrow out. The walls bent inward, dripping black like an open throat. Hands, so many hands, erupted from the seams, pulling me down as the floor softened into tar, sucking me in inch by inch. My last thought before the dark folded over me was a voice, my voice, echoing from everywhere at once, "You should have stayed away from the window." Then the world collapsed. I woke up in silence. Not darkness. Not light. Just gray. Endless and soft, stretching in all directions like fog poured into infinity. There was no floor, but I stood. No sky, but something pressed down on me like the weight of a planet. And I wasn't alone. They were there. Hundreds of them. Thousands. All of them me. Standing in rows that bent beyond the horizon, every head tilted the same way, every grin carved from ear to ear. Some wore my face whole. Some wore scraps of it. Others had none at all, just a slick void where features should be. They whispered in perfect unison, the sound slithering through the gray like oil through water, "Stay." I stumbled back, and froze. There was no back. The gray folded like a curtain, peeling open into black. And from that black, something rose. Tall. Towering. Wearing pieces of me stitched together with threads that pulsed like veins. Its grin split its skull, its limbs too many to count, each one bending wrong, dragging claws that carved scars in the nothing beneath. And in its center, where a heart should be, my phone. Buzzing. I snatched it without thinking, clutching it like it could save me one last time. The screen lit up in a cold, sick glow, flashing a single word, "Again." Then it rang. I answered. And my voice, my real voice, spoke, shaking so hard it splintered, "Don't go near the window. Don't look outside. No matter what you hear." The line clicked dead. And I understood. I wasn't the first. I wasn't the last. I was the call. The gray folded. The black swallowed. And the hum began again. The end. You said, "Write a description for the story on YouTube." ChatGPT said, "Here's a perfect YouTube description for your horror story." Title, "The Last Call I Got from My Future Self." Full horror story, description, "Don't go near the window. Don't look outside. No matter what you hear." It started with a phone call from an unknown number at 12:37 a.m., but the voice on the line was my own. Panicked. Terrified. Begging me not to look outside. Then came the tapping on the glass. The second call. The screaming, "It's not me." What follows is a descent into a world that shouldn't exist, where mirrors breathe, walls whisper, and something wearing my face wants in. And the worst part? Every warning, every scream, every desperate call is part of the trap.